So, Baba, most people have no memory of existing prior to about 2 years old. That I am consciousness, the knowledge that we exist usually starts about, for most people, I think around 2 years old is the first memory. When does the I am consciousness begin? When does it end? What were we before the I am consciousness and after?
So before that consciousness did exist, the clue is everybody bring a basic nature. Like I have even told in example, when parents have several children, they will try to look after all children equally without any discrimination. Yet, different children may pick up different temperament, different attitude, and they may develop different capabilities also. Capabilities of observation, understanding, all these may differ from person to person. That means that soul is bringing from previous lives a basic nature of consciousness through which these things form. Otherwise, if it had been just created, just come into existence, everybody's temperament would have been same. The brain is same, the rest of the things, physical body, unless if there is any handicap or any such thing, challenging position is there. Otherwise, normally we can expect that the brain would have been same. So based on this, I would like to tell the soul consciousness is coming from back, from long time. And then when the development of the brain happens, little by little, then the consciousness gains awareness of the surroundings, its world, everything. At the age of around 2, 4, 5, 6, all these are the innocent. So whatever it gets to learn, it starts learning. Whoever comes in front of that and start telling, I am your father, a mother, I am mom, I am dad. So like that the child picks up, this is dad, and it gets attached to the soul. Slowly and slowly like that it gets attached and it goes on. So due to imaginations, visualizations, this process is happening again and again to be born and again to be dying in the form of the physical body. Of course, it is the physical body which is born and it is the physical body which dies. But consciousness, due to its attachment to the body as me, experiences as if it is being born and it is being dying. When such a thing comes, it's likely that some people may doubt, after our death, that finishes, that's no more. But not actually. Like as a child of 7, 8 year old, I also used to bother and wonder, are we born with this body? Are we going to become extinct? Death means finish, no more existence. Or are we going to exist in some other form? So just like from the previous life, this life has come, this incarnation, birth has happened. In the same way, if we continue with the imaginations and visualizations in the mind, watching the reflections of the brain, so we are more likely to continue into the next incarnation. But now, spiritually, it is recommended to try and end this process so that you can achieve, regain that supreme peace for that which your mind is looking for. That is why mind never stops. This is another important thing. It is looking for the same peace that it had enjoyed by remaining in the self. That's why it doesn't stop. It tries to look whether this object, this thing might give us happiness. We try to obtain, we gain. But after some time, either we lose the appetite of taste for that object, or the object itself may go away from us. As I have told, the world is impermanent, including our own physical body. So then the peace doesn't come. So for that only spirituality recommends you practice meditation so that you can erase all impressions in the mind, all acquired habits of the mind, as I keep telling. So then only this process ends, and the self, that is the consciousness, remains in the awareness. No more birth happens, no more, it won't experience any birth or any physical body at all if there is no visualization of anything. That's what a yogi means. A person would have achieved yoga, a reunion with the self while alive in this physical body. In my opinion, it is essential that you achieve this while you are alive in the body. You must achieve total silence of the mind. Then you are able to settle down to the awareness of existence, what I call it also as consciousness of existence. Only then its journey in imagination and illusion ends, when the imagination and illusion, all visualization ends.
So Baba, the concept of I as a separate being, individual being, is personality, that seems to need a body and a brain and a mind. So it's without those, the I can't be there, can it?
Yes, definitely. Like when in one life, when death happens to the body, it is the brain which stops functioning. Medically, that's how it is declared, okay, this person is no more. He has passed away, doctors say. But just before that, if the mind was continuously visualizing, in the last moments also, it will visualize the same thing to that which it has become habitual, it is used to. So if you observe your mind's attitude, its thinking, everything belong as if it is habitual. Whatever you are used to, your mind automatically thinks the same thing. When you see this world, when you see some people, to whatever you are used to, you will instantly start thinking in the same way. So based on that, after the death of the brain, mind gets detached, is kicked off the brain's reflections. But instantly it assumes next physical body based on what it had acquired habits to visualize. So like that, it won't stay even for a single minute, moment without body, it cannot remain. If it's visualizing, it assumes a body, it needs that personality, because it is visualizing based on that personality of who I am, what I need, what are my desires, unfulfilled desires. So based on this only, then it assumes next incarnation quickly.
And so once that illusion is broken, then with self-realization, then there's nothing to form another body.
Yes, it won't visualize anything. It is totally contented. Because of contentment, it is quiet. It doesn't want to assume any body, any birth, and because no desires to achieve in this world, nothing else is there. So then that process ends.
The mind's impermanent, just like the body, so we can't be the mind.
Yes, as long as it is visualizing, imagining the same thing, we call it as mind, which is actually pure consciousness. So when all thoughts, everything ends, clears totally, then it regains the form of pure consciousness. Pure consciousness we talk, when it is into the consciousness form, it doesn't imagine anything, no desire. It is in the awareness of itself.
So Baba, would pure awareness be more accurate? Because normally, at least when I think of consciousness, I think of a knower knowing something. There is an I there that knows something. And pure awareness, there's no I there. There's just being.
Yes. Pure awareness is not knowing anything. It is just settling down to the self. Your attention is on to yourself. When you look into yourself, no more imagination occurs, no more mind comes, because that self's existence is such an amazing wonder. It is totally contentment. It is there and it is not there. It appears to be something, it appears to be nothing. So then all these definitions stop. When the I itself is not there, we lose that imagination that I exist as an individual. We would have merged with the oneness, all pervaded, that truth. So then everything ends there. No definition, no more visualization, nothing, but total contented, supremely peaceful, at ease.
Thank you, Baba. Thank you.
Baba, I have a
Yes.
question about that. So you were saying that the mind is looking for peace, and yet in meditation, just like this last half hour, in this meditation, there were moments where I finally got to peace. I finally got to silence. It feels so amazing. It's just, I know I'm home. And then the thought comes in, a thought comes in, and then I'm pulled. Then you get to that peace again, and it's so beautiful. So I know that place. I know that peace from those moments. However, I want to ask about thoughts. Thoughts just seem to arise. Is it a thought that arises first, or is it the habit of activity that happens, that's then the thought appears?
Yeah, habit of the activity. So that's how a thought appears. So then the thought appears. So now you have seen the place, what it is, glimpse. So you just have to go on trying to keep quiet, means meditating, so that before the death of the physical body, you may achieve total peace once for all. No more thought should arise. So keep going, and you are on the right track.
So one more question though, in the daily life, like I'm aware of the content of this mind. I'm aware when there's a fear that comes up and I see it. I'm aware of that. When I sit to meditate, it's what I've been thinking of that day, that what's bothering me, what's the fears, what's the desires, what I have to do that comes up. The question is it better to just, the thought comes up, you just don't go there, you just don't think, and you just don't go there. Does that eliminate that thought? Does that eliminate the habit?
Yes, if you don't follow the thought, that will eliminate. The thought tries to drag you behind itself. So if you don't go, so you are quiet, and the thought loses the power to exist, then it disappears.
Thank you, Baba.
So there's a quote that you sent out on your blog about 3-4 days ago. It's just one sentence, and I wanted to read it and ask you to elaborate on it. I found it very interesting. It's from His Master's Grace, and this is the quote: "Achieving self-realization is indeed always a product of having been in extreme difficulties, of having gone to the very end in an experience where a human can go no further." And so my question before you elaborate is are we to seek out these extreme experiences, or is our duty and job to just be ready when and if these experiences come, to keep our peace and to go forward like a soldier? So that's my question.
Yeah, first to understand, Swamiji used to tell this sometimes, with a saying that, hey, today's world, every second, third person suddenly one day declares that they have become self-realized within half an hour, sitting on a stone, but things don't work out like that. And Swamiji used to say, it is not like eating laddus, it's not that easy. So one needs to go for that extreme. transcend everything. So that's what he meant probably. So you have to jump into it. So that's what is needed. So when you do that, you are there. So that is the actual meaning of this quote that I framed by remembering what Swamiji used to say. You should be ready to jump into it. Go for that. You should understand that you need that and only that. So then it comes.
When you say gone to the very end in an experience where a human can go no further, it seems to be an action that we're taking rather than a withdrawal of total action.
Swamiji used to use such a sentence just to say, okay, when you achieve self-realization, you don't have to achieve anything else. That is the final. That is only when you achieve contentment. That is only when the mind stops to be mind anymore and becomes pure consciousness again. So that is what it means.
And so it's that contentment that is beyond the normal human experience, because the normal human experience is never contented until at one time finally contented.
Yeah, exactly, definitely you are right. When there is real total contentment, that is the most elusive for a human being. So it won't. So once contentment comes means everything stops there. Mind's visualization, mind's imagining, mind's any desires, wanting of anything, everything finishes there. So that is the contentment I am talking, final.
But Baba, you've also said that no yogi has come without having done tapas of some form, because it takes the tapas to burn all the habits and impressions, imaginations, desires, cravings, and so on, to finish them off once and for all.
Yeah, whether while in active through the karma yoga that you are able to accept the results and keep quiet. So that way the tapas has to go like that, burning all acquired habits of the mind, finally making it to settle down to the awareness. So that is what is tapas means. So when we sit down and meditate also, we try to achieve the same thing, burn all acquired habits of the mind. For that only long hours of meditation, tapas is necessary. Tapas words meaning itself, burning, finishing of all acquired habits of the mind.
Thank you, Baba.
I want to go back to what Victoria was talking about, that feeling, that feeling, that space where you're just, I mean, my body just relaxes. The minute I sit down, I just kind of go into this space and I can feel it. And then, like she said, that thought comes in. But my question is I'm getting to a point where I can just sit in that feeling. And I'm wondering, is that feeling just like an imagination or a thought? Am I getting caught up in that feeling? Am I using that feeling that I get when I get into that calm, beautiful space? Is that just as much a crutch as a mantra or a thought or something like that? So, and if so, how do I move beyond that?
Yeah, it is, sometimes it is likely that you are trying to imagine. Instead, you have to practice to focus your attention on the consciousness of existence. As I have told before, amongst the millions of thoughts in your mind, one is the consciousness of your existence. You always have a feeling that you exist. So when you focus your attention, eventually you realize that is the space actually, because it has no form, it has no subject, object, anything. It is not a matter, it is the infinite form of space. So that where your attention has to stabilize, stay there. That is what is actual meditation and eventual tapas. So your ability to remain onto the attention.
Okay. Okay, good. All right. Thank you very much. That helps a lot. Thank you.
I'd just like to clarify about the tapas, because that's a frightening thing for some people, sitting, for 20 hours a day. But you've defined meditation is basically one-pointed, unwavering attention for 1 hour. And then when you can maintain that unwavering, one-pointed attention for 8 to 10 hours at a time, that would be tapas. And that's what, destroys all the previous burns all the previous impressions. Now that can be done, anything that can give you one-pointed, unwavering focus could be for 8 to 10 hours at a time, could be considered tapas. Could that be an attitude of complete surrender and devotion? You mentioned, karma yoga through service, serving without any expectation.
Yes, in any way, in any path, if you adopt the right technique, the mind can recede and totally become quiet. You can be active in the world, and then you just learn to accept the result. Acceptance, that can take you to that level automatically. All the time your mind remains quiet. So when you are working, when you are putting an effort, you are focused. When you are totally focused on the work, then your mind stops thinking. It simply watches and you go on working. It watches and you go on working. Then when the result comes, also accept it. When you accept, you become quiet. So like that, if you do also. Normally we don't talk of doing big tapas because we don't want to frighten anyone. Occasionally when a question comes up, when we want to guide them properly, that they should not get carried away by an imagination of a certain thing. So instead they need to focus. However, here I would like to assure everyone, see, this world also, everybody is trying to live. When you are born, you are 1 day, then you are 2 days old, then you are 2 years old, like that it all came slowly and slowly. Childhood could have been frightening sometimes, how the life is going to be, how are we going to live. When we go to university, how are we going to study in the university? What will the teachers do? Will they beat us? Will they be frightening? What type of personality? Like this, hundreds and millions of frightening imaginations occur about this world. Yet, we don't stop. We go on doing because we have to live. We have to sustain ourselves. We have to give food to our body. So we go out of way. Like that, when we go on putting an effort, then often we achieve expertise in that field. The same way here also, meditation also, you don't have to do 20 hours meditation in 1 day, in one go. Just learn to do for half an hour, 1 hour. First you achieve for that 1 hour that you are quiet, your mind is totally quiet. Then several hours you can try comfortably as possible. As you go on, achieve this quietness, then the passing of the time you won't see at all. See, if anybody is sitting first day, even sitting for 2 minutes could be awful. 30 minutes simply passes by when you are a serious meditator and you have achieved at least some expertise in quietly sitting for half an hour. So that half an hour simply passes by like 2 minutes quickly. You all close the eyes. Baba says, just keep your back and neck straight, watch in between eyebrows. And then I also chant the shloka. Slowly all of you can open your eyes. So quickly things happen. So like that, don't have to bother about the top of Mount Everest in one go. Step by step, slowly keep going. One day you will reach there, no problem.
Okay, thank you, Baba.
Yeah, so I might have 2 questions that I'll say one at a time. They might be related, but so the first is there's, Ramana Maharshi and all the saints talk about you know, that there's this notion of no doership. Things are almost just happening, and it's an illusion that things are happening. Yet we, you know, in the illusion, I think we think we're caught up in doing. So where is that illusion? And I guess my question is, when we apply willpower to make a decision, is that sort of our doership to go towards the divine, and
Not
where does that
necessarily
fit in there?
be willpower giving the imagination of doership. Willpower is, I must achieve, and then you get into the job. You don't keep simply thinking that I need to do this, I need to do this. Then you get into the job. When you are getting into the job, when you are doing that, you simply focus, watch. You don't have to imagine that you are the doer. After the result, if it is according to your expectations or not according to your expectations, then this doership in imagination can trouble your ego sometimes. So did I not do properly? Why did that result did not come? Did I do properly? Oh, I did and I achieved. So these type of things which gives the doership. So instead, graciously you accept the result. So then you become quiet. When you are gracious, so you become polished in your thinking also, and you won't think about this doership, and you just become quiet. It's okay, no problem. So that's how the doership goes. You leave it to the divinity. For this purpose only these things are taught, destiny, and leave it to the divine. Oh divine, may it happen according to your wishes, but please inspire my wisdom always. That is the highest prayer, they say. Like that, you lose the doership.
Thank you. And then just the other quick question is, you know, it's interesting on the spiritual journey. It seems like I almost want to meditate for just, I don't even know exactly why. Like there's a desire there, and I don't know where it ends, you know, exactly what I'm desiring. I know I want to meditate. I guess my question is, and then in the world, it's so easy to get caught up in desires and in different things. So how do we make sure we're, I guess, increasing that need that you talk about, the need to become enlightened? So how do we make sure we always keep our eye on that focus?
When you are in the world, in spite of the desires, getting caught into the desires or anything, remind yourself, this world is impermanent. I cannot forget doing meditation. That is the real need for me, to know the permanent me. I need to gain that awareness. Otherwise, this is troublesome all the time. This world is so troublesome. Every moment there is trouble. It is a blessing from the divine, is slapping to remind you the impermanence of the world. Like that, simultaneously you have to remind yourself also the need. Just like when you are in the office, if you are working, you would be reminding yourself that you have to go home and eat food also. You have to look after your family. That's of course if you have a family, not particularly about you I'm talking, general example. So like that, simultaneously you have to remember the impermanence of the world, illusion of the desires, and the elusiveness of the peace, and then you want to achieve that peace. You need that one. Then I must go for that one. What it is after all? Am I born with this body? Bloody, am I going to die and finish extinct after this body? Let me see what it is. Like that, you keep going.
Thank you.
Namaste, Babaji.
Yeah.
My question is the expansiveness experience, or is it understanding for the mind?
When the consciousness expands, it is an experience. Just like I told, when you go out of your country, you will tell your country's name that you belong to that country, and you won't be mentioning your house number or street name, that small place. That means in consciousness, in awareness, you belong to a larger area. So that's how the consciousness expands. So that is an experience, not simply an imagination.
So it happens automatically?
In due course of time, when your mind gives up narrow-mindedness and selfishness, that I am this body, I need everything for this body, these thoughts as gradually decrease through the spiritual practices, then the consciousness expands, then larger cause starts appearing. We need the whole world to be safe, not simply my home, or not simply my street, or not simply my country. The whole universe, even sun needs to be safe, and the solar systems needs to be safe, galaxies needs to be safe. Then only we are safe. So like that, we gain the consciousness awareness.
Thank you, Baba.
I wanted to ask if, I know the goal is to clear all our thoughts before we die. If we're not able to do that, you've mentioned that our sadhana, our efforts, is like a fixed deposit. It doesn't end, it will go further. And I wondered if you might talk about that.
Yeah, so always yogis like us advise, never bother whether you have achieved or not. Keep putting effort till the last breath of your life. It is worthwhile, because all the efforts what you would have put throughout your life will not go waste. That will all serve like the thrust power for the rocket to get out of the Earth's atmosphere. In that way, to get out of the desires of this world, the illusion of this world. So when, for some reason, when the time comes, if the body dies, the mind, it is infinite. It would be carrying all impressions, that which we call it as acquired habits of the mind. It will carry on to the next body, and inclination comes since childhood itself, that you will feel inclined towards spiritual truth, towards bothering certain truths that needs to be understood and gain awareness. And also you will be blessed with such parents, such circumstances, such siblings, such friends, such atmosphere. Everything comes conducive, and your own mind would have gained the ability to understand in its right sense the things like impermanence of the world and need of a permanent awareness. All these things comes very handy for you because of your previous life. Like for example, as a child, if I was worried about the self, am I born with this body, am I going to die along with this body or become extinct, or am I going to exist in some other form? And also, if there is happiness, why is it is not there all 24 hours, 12 months, it must be there. Why is the fluctuation? Sometimes an unknown fear comes, sometimes there is excitement, happiness, we want to jump, all these things happen. Is there something wrong in me or something wrong in the world? As a child, I thought about these things bothered me, which induced me to go towards spirituality and try to understand the teachings of some great self-realized sages like Adi Shankara, Ramana Maharshi, Ramakrishna. Then I was blessed to meet Shiva Balayogi.
Thank you, Papa.
That means blessings will also come to a person who is putting an effort.
Thank you.
Namaste. My question is regarding the habits of the mind, and how meditation you talk about is to quiet the mind, and in relation to like one's chosen profession. So if your job makes you be super analytical for 10 hours a day, and your mind, it seems that is strengthening the mind's ability to just to think all the time, and then when you're not at your profession, can't shut that off. Do you recommend maybe trying to find different professions that aren't so if the goal is to quiet the mind, find a profession that doesn't force your mind to be so analytical for so much of the day all the time?
Yeah, it's a very good question. If possible, I would recommend to find such profession in which you don't have to analyze or make judgments too much. Otherwise, if you want to continue with the profession where you have to make too much of decisions, analyzations, judgment, then you will have to meditate equal amount. Antidote will have to be given. So then only the impressions will go. That much of meditation you have to do. So just like the medicine. So if you exert so much of pressure on the brain, on your physical body, then you would need to relax, to rest equally that much, to regain that strength and feel refreshing. So that's how it happens. Either this or that. Or you try to exert less pressure on your brain and on your physical body so that you don't have to relax too much. So you try to find a profession, if it's possible, which can give you your livelihood that is needed so that you don't have to exert too much of meditation. Finally.
Thank you, Babaji.
Pranam, Babaji. I've got a quick question, starting with what you said previously about the soul, but about wanting a body soon after leaving. So the question I have is I understand that, at least intellectually, but what is it that drives the concept of ghosts and spirits and all that, the dark energies that we hear about? What actually creates these ghosts? I mean, and also further, if I'm one of those spirits, how do I actually come back to your lotus feet? I mean, that's the other concern I have. How can I be pulled back to you, or how can I be attracted to you?
So first thing, I have a cane in my hand, and if you are going to remember these ghosts, read about them, listen to about them, you are going to be caned. So that you don't have to go to the ghost, become a spirit. So why do you have to become a spirit and then want to come back again? How to come back? So you don't have to imagine any trouble at all. If you don't imagine any trouble, you are not going to be in any trouble. This is what happens. It's a very good question and a very good topic that has come. Psychologically, it is we human beings who imagine trouble to ourselves, and then we will have to imagine coming out of that trouble also. So if we don't imagine about the trouble at all, we don't have to imagine to come out of that trouble. So that's what the meditation practice is teaching you, to silence the mind, silence the mind. You don't have to visualize that you are to be born and you have to achieve this, you have to achieve that after being born, so that you don't have to die. So that is the thing. So in childhood itself, we were advised by our parents not to read about ghosts, not to read, learn or listen to any such stories. So they do not exist. Means you don't have to become a ghost. That is the first thing. If you remember God, if you remember your Guru, if you love the Guru, so where is the question of becoming a ghost spirit like that? You will never become like that. You don't have to worry.
Thank you.
Baba, is that it? Because we create what we think, what we imagine in our mind, we end up creating and making reality of it.
Exactly. As we go on visualizing for a long time, as the power, potency of the mind's concentration picks up, the same thing can get materialized in due course of time. So that's how we build our destiny. That's how I tell in my teachings also. If you are more positive, you can be shaping a better positive destiny for yourself. If you are going to be negative in your attitude, you can be shaping a wrong negative future for yourself, destiny for yourself. So you create in your mind and you make it materialize also. So if at all you have to think positively, think about the soul, Atman, think about the awareness that you are, and Don't think anything negatively. And as long as you have to think, the day you don't have to think anything, then finishes all troubles.
My question is, if the mind that we have now, the mind that we experience, the personality that we experience, we don't have any recollection of who we were before. This mind and this personality is not from a past life or from 5 lives back. So the mind and the personality that we have, if we come back for another life or for many more lives, will have no relation in our conscious awareness to what we are today, to the person we experience ourselves as today. So how is meditation then significant if we're not aware, or we won't be aware in another life, of this life that we're existing in now?
You see, you are right. There is no awareness of what you were in previous life, because along with the death of the brain, all memory is lost. But mind is carrying the habits from previous lives, and that is what troubling in this life also. Say, understanding capacity, worrying capacity, thinking capacity, all these varies from person to person. When there is some trouble in the mind, if one is unable to give it up, that is because of the acquired habits since previous lives. The same thing, for me, from a childhood, the thinkings were different, understanding of this world was different. I saw this world as a totally different thing. Means I used to become restless by seeing the world. I used to think it might appear very funny today, but that was the thought coming as a child of 8 to 9 years old. If there is a button by pressing which I can switch off the entire universe, that thought itself used to give me so much of peace and tranquility. Ah, God, everything ends, that finishes. The very appearance of this world is the problematic thing actually. Whoever has made it, please help me to switch it off. So like that, I became spiritual. So that means that is the acquired habits which made me to behave like this and become like this in this life. So your acquired habits are all there, so which will be with you until you don't erase that one. So that previous life is still continuing in the form of symptoms, habits.
Yes, I understand that, but we're not aware of the fact that, okay,
Yes.
you are who you are today because of what happened to you in your past life, or what you did or what you didn't do in your past life. And exactly for that same understanding, why does it matter how far we attain in this life, if in the next life we're not even going to be the person that's worrying about it anymore?
You see, one thing, you may not be aware of what you did and why it's happening. So like now, a master like Baba has come into your life. That is also your good deeds in the previous lives. That Baba considers you like a daughter and feels concerned about needs and unneeds and keeps advising you whenever possible. Whenever you talk to Baba, he talks to you smilingly and advisingly. So that is the habits you have acquired from previous life. You love Baba, don't you?
Yes.
That is enough. No need of any other awareness which will drive you mad unnecessarily. Now meditate, it will help you.
Thank you, Baba.
Hello, Babaji and everyone here. I'm so grateful for this moment. So I just want to honor the precious time that we have together, and I want to ask a curious little question. I met you a few years ago at Ananda Ashram in New York. You may remember being there before the pandemic. And I had the blessings of an initiation with you, and I think about that all the time in my practices with you, and so grateful to continue virtually with all of us around the world. And so if it's not inappropriate to ask, Babaji, what more can you explain about that initiation, and anything you can say about that would be so meaningful to me. Thank you.
If a yogi has achieved self-realization, when he initiates by touching the in-between eyebrows, in Sanskrit we call it as the Bhru Madhya or Brikuti. So that is the Agna Chakra place also. Some vibrations gets transferred automatically without your knowledge and without me trying to think anything. So that's what happens. That's what keeps you attracted to Baba, and some unknown attachment comes. Even sometimes physically we are at a distance, like because of the pandemic, we couldn't come to America this year, but still you said that you keep cherishing that moment when I initiated you and that you met me in Anandashram and you thinking. So that is what the power of initiation. So Guru is always with you as a father to protect you, to guide you, to inspire you. Whenever you need me, we are there for you.
Thank you, Babaji. So beautiful. And my husband, Michael, who wanted to be here, couldn't be here physically, but he's here in spirit and sends you so much love and appreciation. Thank you, Babaji.
So my question is, so I understand the importance of doing meditation regularly. So I was thinking, you know, I have two boys, one is 5, the other one is 3. What is the age that we can, you know, I need your blessings so that, you know, we can initiate them in the path of meditation as soon as possible. But I want to know, what is the age when we can initiate them into this meditation practice?
You know, one thing, when Swamiji did tapas, Shankar Bhagwan gave him permission to initiate even small children also. Because just now I was explaining the initiation power. So whenever it is possible, if you bring the child in front of us, we'll be able to initiate and slowly keep talking to them about Swamiji, how as a child he did tapas, talk those stories to them. As soon as they are able to listen, like 5-year-old boy should be able to listen at least some stories, talk Swamiji's stories, and they will feel attracted slowly. A larger than life figure starts sitting in their consciousness about Swamiji, such wonders, tapas, all these things. Then slowly, by the time they are 6, 7, 8 years, you can try to encourage them to sit down, close your eyes, pray to Swamiji, he will protect you, and then meditate like this, meditate like this. That's how slowly, slowly you can introduce them to meditation.
Thank you so much. Naps.
Baba, we have a couple questions that people have asked via the chat. Could I ask you those now?
Yes, yes.
Babaji, you once said that no one knows the future, but can you give us some insight into the next 10 years? It seems like we've been going deeper and deeper into Kali Yuga. Is there any chance we can jump to Sat Yuga, which is what Maharishi Mahesh Yogi was predicting?
See, as a yogi, we do not really predict, but certain facts I would like to express my opinion. You see, if we look back into 50 years, we have tremendously advanced in science, technology, and so many other fields, but generally have forgotten the essence of spirituality. And that is why, in majority, humanity is into trouble, mistrust, and they dislike each other. There is no consideration to each other. Even as a child, I used to think, why is that humans are always against each other? Why can't they live for each other? And even scientists have told the earth always have had and will have enough resources to meet our need, but not greed. So these are the points which we need to look into. Nature is there, troubles come, but it is the humanity which often behave very irresponsibly, immature way. So if we all understand ourselves better, understand our minds better through spiritual practices, we can become more better, responsible human beings. Then the future, next 10 years, can be so wonderful, can be so beautiful for all of us, all human beings, forgetting to fight with each other and start loving each other. Dream of that, how nice it would be. But unfortunately, yogis come, masters come, everybody come, they advise humanity, but humans always are selfish, narrow-minded, and keep fighting with each other. So in these 50 years, nothing really has progressive thing amongst human beings has happened. Today we are able to fly in the air at 35,000 feet with few $100s, and we are planning to go out of the planet also. We are looking forward, we are trying to do everything, but we don't want to keep our minds well cultured, consideration of a larger cause. We have to put in efforts, we have to work for that. Only then we can hope for a peace the next 10 years, for happiness, for progressive things. That's what I would advise, and my opinion. Instead of simply asking for a prophecy or a predicting, let us work in that direction. Let us love each other. Let us try not to hurt anybody, even in our wildest dreams. So like that, if everybody decides and takes a oath and practices meditation, then the world can be very beautiful. The next 10 years, 100 years can be so beautiful. We will be living a beautiful world for the coming generations. That's what we need to live, good world for the coming generations.
Thank you, Baba. One more question from Vera. If one's dedicated to the divine, but their work as a university professor requires a lot of intellectual work, is that detrimental to attaining the calm consciousness?
Not at all. You see, in my opinion, if one is able to apply intelligence properly by cleanly observing the truth, and he has the ability to understand, then intellectuality also can be very helpful to take you to the awareness. Like some scientists, like Einstein, they all have visualized that truth, that to reach the truth you have to cross the time and space barrier. That is through intelligence only. If only we learn to apply proper intelligence, it won't be a stumbling block to reach the awareness or to know the divinity or to love the divinity. Pray to the divine to give you proper wisdom, proper application of the brain, to use of proper intelligence.
Thank you, Baba. Would you explain again about how samskaras are built? You know, how judgments we analyze, we get attracted, we analyze, we make a judgment, and then that kind of becomes a permanent pattern of behavior for us.
Yeah, our action, when we have the doership and we try to use our intelligence with the conclusion that whatever I think is the right thing, whatever is coming to my mind is the right thing. So that is one great thing about the ancient sages, I would like to tell. They were also initially very intellectual people. They tried to think about the self. When intelligence was there, only then they could think about the self, a permanent happiness or any such thing like that. But they were also equally humble. They exercised humility when they realized the truth, when they understood the vastness of universe. Like if we try to apply intelligence and use our intelligence, galaxies after space, space after galaxies, it's never ending. The vastness, boundless space, We all belong to one space. That is the intelligence. Like that, they understood the vastness, boundless thing. That's why they used one single word in Sanskrit, Ananta, means it is boundless. Finally, they did not jump into any conclusion. They did not claim or boast that we know anything. They did not look down at others. So when we intellectual people, we use our intelligence, we should not look down at others who would have experienced the truth also. We should be ready to learn, open to learning is important. Then one will be benefited. So that is how the sanskars come to mind when we acquired habits. Whatever habits we acquire, so that makes the mind to revolve into such attitude, and such attitude builds up like thinking or understanding or behaving. All these are abilities of a human mind. To think as a human, we should try not to hurt others. It is an ability. It's not an ordinary thing, but it comes to the mind when we practice them, when we lose the selfishness, narrow-mindedness that I am the only intelligent person, I know this. So we have to give it up and remain open to learning. Then we can acquire better habits in the mind. So habits, acquired habits, impressions that the mind takes, whatever you think, you visualize, you work, you exercise, put an effort. The mind absorbs imprints of all such things by analyzing, making judgments. So these are the things which makes the person to absorb imprint. And the samskaras, this is what is known as samskaras, are acquired habits of the mind. So a yogi never makes any judgment at all. Just as a witness, see the wonder of the world, wonder of divinity, amazing things, everything. He doesn't try to judge. This is the conclusive answer. There is no such thing. It may be inconclusive.
Thank you, Baba. Baba, time is up.
I have one more question. Can I have one more question, please? Baba, this is about watching
Yes.
and meditation. So it seems like, and there's just a subtle difference. I could be watching and it feels like there's no center point. There's just watching. I'm watching here. Or it feels like I'm watching the watcher. And then it feels like I'm watching from here. Yet I'm not like a doer. So I don't know if this is clear, but you were saying earlier, have your attention on the consciousness of existence. So is it clear that there's a difference between, it seems like, looking here and just being, there's no center point, or watching from here, the watcher?
Exactly. So though in the beginning, to a beginner, when we initiate, we just give a point here, but we don't give any form, any anchor, any name, nothing. Just watch. We don't ask such people what they are supposed to watch. No such thing is told. Then eventually when they go on watching, you will realize there is no center point, and the watcher is watching you are watching the watcher, and you are the watcher, and you are the one who is watching. So they both become one eventually. They merge with each other. That's when the self-awareness comes, the vastness. So the mind learns that it is watching itself. So it goes back to itself, then it becomes pure consciousness. Otherwise, as long as it is mind, it always watches whatever it imagines. So thus the imagination decreases, comes to an end, then the pure consciousness is simply watching itself. That means it is aware of itself. That's what the vastness, when there is no center point at all. It is all pervaded. That's how a yogi also concludes that truth is simply all pervaded. It is not located in one single pointed or any central point. There is no such thing. That's why it is also known as absolute, Parabrahma.